Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today. After
Oh, it's a pleasure.
months of research, countless discussions, and several industry workshops, our study's finally out. I personally am really proud of the work we've done, and I really believe that our findings will help to move the dialogue along. But let's start talking today about why we chose to do the study in the first place and why storage is such a hot topic for utilities today.
Well, I would say the fundamental one is that we now see jurisdictions around the world, here in California, now federally in the United States, in China, Korea, across Europe, all embracing the 100% clean energy target by mid-century, or roughly by mid-century. And to do that, we're going to need all of our clean energy options, but we're also going to need dynamic and smart storage. And our study is all about how to innovate for that and how to integrate that in, not only technically, but in terms of ways that really make the markets excited and hum in this new direction.
Yeah, I think one thing that you mentioned to me before is you called it the glue of the low carbon economy. And I really liked that analogy. And I think it's one that really reinforces the traction really that we're seeing storage get across the world. So we know it's an important topic to study, but why this study?
Well, I think you're right. I do think that glue is the term we're going to think about in terms of storage later on. It's not just a smart grid, but it's also having storage when you need it at the home scale, at the business scale, at the kiosk scale, at the industrial scale. And to do all that, the critical thing you need to look at is not just how the technology is evolving, which we do in the study, but it's to understand where the markets are. Where are the markets opening? Where are the markets need some policy and regulatory support? And everyone from businesses to policymakers to investors to environmental groups that want to see real progress all are looking for studies like ours that integrate the technical progress with the policy and the market progress.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was one of the things that really stood out to us as a gap in the market before we kind of kicked off, right? Just the combination of having the long-term policy landscape where we saw the market, the kind of the policy landscape going. And then, as you said, really like the practical realities of deploying storage onto the grid today, which, are challenging for sure. So let's talk about our findings a little bit. What did this study really validate for you? And what do you think kind of surprised you most as we went through the work?
Well, I guess what surprised me is the place to start, and that is we are far better armed with tools to make energy storage a technical and economic reality than many people realize. We tend to look at the learning curve, the cost curve as a starting ground. But the fact that storage is diverse in its technologies and that there's options for the shorter term storage like lithium ion batteries, but a whole range of emerging long term options, including flow batteries and flywheels and hydrogen. There's just a wide range. And so I think the surprise is the exciting lead. But what the study really validated for me was that as much as we can push the prices down for renewables, it means far, far less unless we also not only push the price down for energy storage, but also push it into the market, because we need to have experiments done by cities and states and nations and provinces and cantons to really figure out which aspects are going to best meet their local market conditions. So we focused a little more on the Western US market, but it's emblematic because we have states that are very fossil dominated and states like California and now Washington, New Mexico that are very clean. And they're going to need different types of storage. And I think that's what gives me the most excited hope that we've got those technologies. Now we need to really have this technology push, demand pull conversation for a decade to really get this out there.
No, I agree. I think also you said something about having the tools, but also needing a lot more studies, right, and a lot more kind of examples and really kind of a body of learning or and case studies for us to kind of further the application of storage in the market. So it just, given that context, I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about what you see as a kind of the key takeaways for industry practitioners.
Well, we actually have a chart in the report that highlights there are so many different economic opportunities for storage. It's not just providing that backup power. It's ancillary power. It's cold start capability. It's frequency regulation. It's a whole range of things. And there's no market in the world that values even a fraction of them. Some are good on one, some are okay on the other, but what we don't have is a holistic perspective on all of the different services that storage provides. And when you get into those details, you really find that even very traditional utilities could leapfrog to a much smarter system if storage was entered in. It removes, of course, any anxiety about intermittency of renewables, but it also provides a higher level of resilience and backup. And it's not just a normal operation when we have crises or power lines go down or fires, something we have in California, unfortunately now. All of those things, storage has been a real winner in allowing us to move to a smart grid. And so I see that package as something that every investor, every technologist, and really every policymaker should think through, because these are the markets of the future. And if we're serious about 100% clean energy, which we must be, we've got to think of storage as a co-equal, as the glue to hold that low carbon economy together.
Yeah, I think that there was another phrase that came up in one of our workshops, just moving away from the perspective of viewing storage as a last resort, right? And really kind of providing the incentives in order to kind of allow a variety of assets to compete in the market and to really provide that flexibility that we need for variable energy.
Well, that's right. I personally think of storage as a co-equal, and whether you're in a world where it's carbon price that's your driver, or a European style feed-in tariff, or a US style renewable portfolio standard, I think of storage as just on the front lines with the renewable sources, the low carbon sources. And the market should reflect that. It should reflect that all of these play in a critical way. And to devalue one versus the others holds back and makes more expensive the transition. It also makes the transition less socially and racially just, because if we don't invest in the storage we need now to support frontline communities we haven't invested in, low-income estates, housing projects, if we don't make those co-equal on getting clean energy access, we hold back not only the market, but we also hold back so many of the social benefits that come from that 100% clean energy economy.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think it's luckily something that the current administration is really focused on as well. So hopefully we'll see kind of these things moving together. I think one other thing that I would add in terms of maybe the industry takeaways from my perspective also is just the additional investment that we need in digital as well to support energy storage. And I think we saw that with some of the market examples, right? Just the reliance on machine learning to really optimize the revenue stack for storage, which is very challenging to achieve because of the reasons that you mentioned just now, right? That there just aren't that many markets open to storage, but balancing the different pieces. And one of my colleagues who's been kind of very in the weeds on this has said something to me which I thought really resonated, which was, just a human cannot do the trading and the optimization that machine learning can do.
I'm really glad you said that, because I think a couple of years ago, saying that we're going to have to make the system smart, we're going to need sensors, we're going to need machine learning to really optimize, would have been kind of a scary proposition. But the one thing that's very clear is that the single commodity that's decreasing in cost and increasing in performance most quickly in the world is actually information technology. And so the more we build this in so that our storage units anticipate what's going to happen with clouds that are coming in, so that we know there might be a drop in solar, so they should get ready and spin up some of the storage resources. And being able to sense nodes in the distribution grid that might need to be reinforced by having some power come out of storage. These are things that are all actually quite easy today. They make utilities jump from being creatures of the 19th and 20th century to being creatures of the 21st century. And smart systems, digital technology, storage are core to that. So I actually think that for utilities that really want to be at the forefront, they want to meet customer demands, they want to maximize revenue, this is a place to hit the environmental, social justice, and financial bottom line all at once. The triple bottom line, I think, requires technology, smarts, and storage.
I think that's a really interesting point. I definitely see, kind of from my perspective, working with a number of utilities in North America and in the past, kind of in Europe, just how much also utilities, it's obviously a patchwork, but how much they are embracing it, how much they realize the importance of digital. So I think it's really exciting, because I do think it's that the pace of technology is really accelerating the pace of business change as well. So these things are kind of coming together. And with all of these commitments that we're seeing as well, hopefully we can bring all of the pieces of the puzzle together and really kind of drive change.
Well, hopefully the number of markets where this is going on really grows, because I don't know any place that doesn't benefit by having storage into the system. We have different rules around the world, but certainly any place that thinks through a transition, that plans the path to zero carbon, is going to have to embrace what we have in the report. And it's going to have to embrace the kind of customer dialogue that you do at Accenture, which is really to make clear how these opportunities are this mixture of technology, business, and providing a social good. And that's, what I think most companies ultimately want to say they're doing. So what I think is so exciting about the work we've done is that not only do we see that storage is here now, but the path of innovation is fast and it's furious. And it means that we have the storage glue ready to go for the markets that are ready to uptake this technology. So we've got the tools. Now we need to really get on with the deployment, and innovation will follow. It's really exciting, dynamic time.
I think it's a great study. Hopefully people will get some interesting insights from it, and it will help to push the dialogue along. I think there are a lot of questions still to explore. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with you to explore some of those questions. And thank you so much for kind of sitting down with me today and talking through the report. And I look forward to kind of more conversations with our broader kind of industry colleagues on the topic.
I mean, it's exciting. We've got a lot to do. But it's the perfect time to start. So thanks for working with us. We really appreciate it.
No, we've really enjoyed it. So thank you so much. And thanks for your time today. And looking forward to our follow-up conversations.
Perfect. Bye. Thanks as well.